Hello, my friends. Good morning. Happy Sunday. I feel like myself again this morning. Feel a little normsies. Kind of happy about that. Kind of happy to feel a little normal this morning. Feel like KJ. It's a good thing, feeling like KJ. All right. August 25th. Let me get my earbud out. August 25th. The effect of Tyre's destruction. Ezekiel 26:15 through 21. This is what the sovereign Lord says to Tyre. The whole coastline will tremble at the sound of your fall, as the screams of the wounded echo in the continuing slaughter. All the seaport rulers will step down from their thrones and take off their royal robes and beautiful clothing. They will sit on the ground trembling with horror at your destruction. Then they will wail for you, singing this funeral song. O famous island city, once ruler of the sea, how you have been destroyed. Your people, with their naval power, once spread fear around the world. Now the coastlands tremble at your fall. The islands are dismayed at your disappear. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will make Tyre an uninhabited ruin, like many others. I will bury you beneath the terrible waves of enemy attack. Great seas will swallow you. I will send you to the pit to join those who descended there long ago. Your city will lie in ruins, buried beneath the earth, like those in the pit who have entered the world of the dead. You have no place of respect here in the land of the living. I will bring you to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. You will be looked for, but you will never again be found. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. The end of Tyre's glory. Ezekiel 27:1 through 25. This message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, sing a funeral song for Tyre, the mighty gateway to the sea, the trading center of the world. Give Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. You boasted, O Tyre, my beauty is perfect. You extended your boundaries into the sea. Your builders made your beauty perfect. You were like a great ship, built on the finest cypress from Sinir. They took a cedar from Lebanon to make a mast for you. They carved your oars from the oaks of Bashan, your deck of pines from the coast of Cyprus. Your was inlaid with ivory. Your sails were made of Egypt's finest linens, and they flew as a banner above you. You stood beneath blue and purple awnings made bright with dyes from the coast of Elisha. Your oarsmen came from Sidon and Arvad. Your helmsmen were skilled men of Tyre itself. Wise old craftsmen from Gebal did the caulking. Ships from every land came with goods to barter for your trade. Men from distant Persia, Lydia, and Libya served in your great army. They hung their shields and helmets on your walls, giving you great honor. Men from Arvad and Helek stood on your walls. Your towers were manned by men from Gamad. Their shields hung on your walls, completing your beauty. Tarshish sent merchants to buy your wares in exchange for silver, iron, tin, and lead. Merchants from Greece, Tubal, and Meshech brought slaves and articles of bronze to trade with you. From Beth Togarmah came riding horses, chariot horses, and mules, all in exchange for your goods. Merchants came to you from Dedan. Numerous coastlands were your captive markets. They brought payment in ivory tusks and ebony wood. Syria sent merchants to buy your rich varieties of goods. They traded turquoise, purple dyes, embroidery, fine linen, and jewelry for coral and rubies. Judah and Israel traded for your wares, offering wheat from Minnith figs, honey, olive oil, and balm. Damascus sent merchants to buy your rich variety of goods, bringing wine from Helbon and white wool from Zahar. Greeks from Uzal came to trade your merchandise. Wrought iron, cassia, and fragrant calamus were bartered for you in your wares. Dedan sent merchants to trade their expensive saddle blankets with you. The Arabians and the princes of Kedar sent merchants to trade lambs and rams and male goats in exchange for your goods. The merchants of Sheba and Ramah came with all kinds of spices, jewels, and gold in exchange for your wares. Haran, Cana, Eden, Sheba, Asher, and Kilmad came with their merchandise too. They brought choice fabrics to trade, blue cloth, embroidery, and multicolored carpets rolled up and bound with cords. The ships of Tarshish were your ocean caravans. Your island warehouses was filled to the brim. The destruction of Tyre, Ezekiel 27:26-36. But look, your oarsmen have taken into the stormy seas. A mighty eastern gale has wrecked you in the heart of the sea. Everything is lost, your riches and wares, your sailors and pilots, your shipbuilders and merchants and warriors. On the day of your ruin, everyone on board sinks into the depths of the sea. Your cities by the sea tremble as your pilots cry out in terror. All the oarsmen abandon their ships. The sailors and pilots stand on the shore. They cry aloud over you and weep bitterly. They throw dust on their heads and roll in ashes. They shave their heads in grief for you and dress themselves in burlap. They weep for you with bitter anguish and deep mourning. As they wail and mourn over you, they sing this sad funeral song. Was there ever such a city as Tyre, now silent at the bottom of the sea? The merchandise you traded satisfied the desires of many nations. Kings at the ends of the earth were enriched by your trade. Now you are a wrecked ship, broken at the bottom of the sea. All your merchants and crews have gone down with you. All who live along the coastlands are appalled at your terrible fate. Their kings are filled with horror and look on with twisted faces. The merchants among the nations shake their heads at the sight of you, for you have come to a horrible end and will exist no more. A message for Tyre's king, Ezekiel 28, 1-19. Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride you claim, I am a god. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the sea, but you are only a man and not a god, though you boast that you are a god. You regard yourself as wiser than Daniel and think no secret is hidden from you. With your wisdom and understanding you have amassed great wealth, gold and silver for your treasuries.
Have you seen my grandson Little's jumper? I can't remember what happened to it before vacation.
I think yes, it's still dirty.
Dirty? I haven't.
It was in the suitcase with dirty laundry, and I just pulled a bunch out this morning to wash. It's not clean. Sorry. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you think you are as wise as a god, I will now bring against you a foreign army, the terror of the nations. They will draw their swords against your marvelous wisdom and defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die in the heart of the sea. Pierced with many wounds, will you boast? Will you then boast, I am a god, to those who kill you? To them you will be no god, but merely a man. You will die like an outcast at the hands of the foreigners. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Then this further message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, sing this funeral song to the king of Tyre. Give him this message from the sovereign Lord. You were the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone: red carnelian, pale green peridot, white moonstone, blue-green beryl, onyx, green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise, and emerald, all beautifully created for you, and then set in finest gold. They were given to you on the day you were created. I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God and walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did, from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you. Your rich commerce led you to violence, and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace from the mountain of God. I expelled you, O mighty guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Your heart was filled with pride. Because of all your beauty, your wisdom is corrupted. By your love of splendor, so I threw you to the ground. And exposed you to the curious gaze of kings. You defiled your sanctuaries with your many sins and your dishonest trade. So I brought fire out from within you, and it consumed you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. All who knew you were appalled at your fate. You have come to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. A message for Sidon. Ezekiel 28, 20-24. Then another message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, turn and face the city of Sidon and prophesy against it. Give the people of Sidon this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Sidon, and I will reveal my glory by what I do to you. When I bring judgment against you and reveal my holiness among you, everyone watching will know that I am the Lord. I will send a plague against you, and blood will be spilled in your streets. The attack will come from every direction, and your people will lie slaughtered within your walls. Then everyone will know that I am the Lord. No longer will Israel's scornful neighbors prick and tear at her like briars and thorns, for they will know that I am the sovereign Lord. Restoration for Israel, Ezekiel 28:25 through 26. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The people of Israel will again live in their own land, the land I gave my servant Jacob. For I will gather them from the distant lands where I have scattered them. I will reveal to the nations of the world my holiness among my people. They will live safely in Israel and build homes and plant vineyards. And when I punish the neighboring nations that treated them with contempt, they will know that I am the Lord their God. The fall of Jerusalem, 2 Kings 25, 3 through 7. By July 18th, in the 11th year of Zedekiah's reign, the famine in the city had become very severe, and the last food was entirely gone. Then a section of the city wall was broken down. Since the city was surrounded by the Babylonians, the soldiers waited for nightfall and escaped through the gate between the two walls behind the king's garden. Then they headed towards the Jordan Valley. But the Babylonian troops chased the king and overtook him on the plains of Jericho, for his men had all deserted him and scattered. They captured the king and took him to the king of Babylon at Riblah, where they pronounced judgment upon Zedekiah. They made Zedekiah watch as they slaughtered his sons. Then they gouged out Zedekiah's eyes, bound him in bronze chains, and led him away to Babylon. Jeremiah 52, 6 through 11. By July 18th, in the 11th year of Zedekiah's reign, the famine in the city had become very severe, and the last of the food was entirely gone. The section of the city wall was broken down, and all the soldiers fled. Since the city was surrounded by the Babylonians, they waited for nightfall. Then they slipped through the gate between the two walls, behind the king's garden, and headed towards the Jordan Valley. But the Babylonian troops chased King Zedekiah and overtook him on the plains of Jericho, for his men had all deserted him and scattered. They captured the king and took him to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath. There the king of Babylon pronounced judgment upon Zedekiah. The king of Babylon made Zedekiah watch as he slaughtered his sons. He also slaughtered all the officials of Judah at Riblah. Then he gouged out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him in bronze chains, and the king of Babylon led him away to Babylon. Zedekiah remained there in prison until the day of his death. Jeremiah 39, 2 through 10. 2.5 years later, on July 18th, in the 11th year of Zedekiah's reign, a section of the city wall was broken down. All of the officers of the Babylonian army came in and sat in triumph at the middle gate. Nergal-Sharezer, my favorite name in the Bible. I just think it's hilarious. Nergal-Sharezer of Samgar, and Nebo-Sarekum, a chief officer, and Nergal-Sharezer, the king's advisor. That's what's even funnier. There's not just one Nergal-Sharezer, there's two Nergal-Sharezer. And all the other officers of the king of Babylon. When King Zedekiah of Judah and all the soldiers saw that the Babylonians had broken into the city, they fled. They waited for nightfall and then slipped through the gates between the two walls behind the king's garden and headed towards the Jordan Valley. But the Babylonian troops chased them and overtook Zedekiah on the plains of Jericho. They captured him and took him to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, who was at Riblah in the land of Hamath. There, the king of Babylon pronounced judgment upon Zedekiah. The king of Babylon made Zedekiah watch as he slaughtered his sons at Riblah. The king of Babylon also slaughtered all the nobles of Judah. Then he gouged out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him in bronze chains and led him away to Babylon. Meanwhile, the Babylonians burned Jerusalem, including the royal palace and the houses of the people, and they tore down the walls of the city. Then Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took as exiles to Babylon the rest of the people who remained in the city, those who had defected to him and everyone else who remained. But Nebuzaradan allowed some of the poorest people to stay behind in the land of Judah, and he assigned them to care for the vineyards and fields. That's the end. If I had another baby, which obviously is never happening, I'd name him Nergal-Sharezer. Good old Nergal. Everyone loves Nergal. me up so bad. The things that crack me up. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder about me. All right. Here we are. Where are we? Right here. All right. She's talking about her timeline. The summer of 2003 is when things got dark for me. In case you don't know, we're reading this book. We're on page 201. I was making agreements with the enemy about my worth, my value, and what made me lovable. I began trying different types of disordered eating and behavior, some that appeared socially acceptable to outsiders, and some I kept hidden because I knew they wouldn't be. My body changed, and people praised me for it. When I came back to school in the fall, I didn't just look different, I acted different. There was no messy, clumsy, or lazy allowed in my life. I exercised twice a day, tracked every crumb that went into my body, worked part-time job at the church off campus, and gave 110% in every class. Because I wanted to be seen as a high achiever, not as a messy girl who couldn't keep up. I was miserable and stressed, but highly functioning and fueled by the praise of people I loved. This disordered eating and unhealthy behavior continued from 2003 to 2005, when I married that amazing high school boyfriend, the one who had loved my body at varying sizes and shapes. My wedding day felt like an exam I was taking to finally get the stamp of approval on my body that I'd been craving compulsively for the past few years. I regret that I was distracted by focusing on my body that day. But more than that, I regret that my unhealthy behavior led me to set a bar for myself that should never have been in place. For years, I tried to get back to my wedding day weight, as if it was the pinnacle of perfection, as if it was something that could be attained without causing serious harm to my body. From 2003 until 2014, it will be quicker for me to list short seasons when I experienced freedom, or at least compassion for myself in regards to my body image. In between my first and second kiddos being born, I felt full in the best ways, joyful and free, at ease, and in no hurry to please anyone. The only problem was that there was only 4 months in between the birth of my first son and the date I got pregnant with my second. The peace was short-lived. I decided to become a runner in the summer of 2010 to help combat my postpartum depression after my third child was born. I explored new areas of strength in myself in that season, and I spent a lot of time talking to God. I was so distracted with defeat and despair and the havoc my hormones were wreaking on my mind and emotions, I had no energy left for body shame. With the voice of shame quieted, I began to realize that running made me feel strong and brought me a daily sense of victory. That section will never be in my book. In the spring of 2011, I experienced a miscarriage, and the shame came back. This time new and fresh, pointed and jagged in very tender places. Now, not only did I battle the sensation of being too much, too fluffy, too messy, I also felt like my body was intrinsically inadequate in a new way. I began to provoke my body again. My exercise and my eating may not have looked that different from the outside, but the motivation was withholding and perfecting, not celebrating and healing. It was early 2014 when I sent the middle of the night email to Alyssa Keaton asking her to coach me. And it was then that I began praying this prayer. God, help me want to see you more than I want to see my body fit into some culturally acceptable mold. Help me want you more than I want my body to seem good to others. Help me believe what you've said about my body. In the 6 years since then, God and I have done a lot of work. On runs, in the kitchen, in my journal, in front of mirrors, in conversations with my counselor and my girlfriends. As a true Enneagram 8, I have mostly kept this very tender part of my heart to myself, sharing it only with those I'm closest to. But I also prayed about writing the book to share the freedom that God has given me. In the spring of 2019, I had a meeting with my publisher about my book, You Are the Girl for the Job. The conversation meandered to future books, and I said the brave thing that was thumping in my heart. Next, I'd like to write my body book. On March 4th, 2020, I had another meeting with my amazing editor, Stephanie, just days before the coronavirus pandemic hit the United States. We talked again about a body book, about pain points of women and what words God might give us to tell them. As I flew home from our meeting in Nashville that night, I hunched over my laptop and typed out the words of the first chapter. 9 days later, it felt like the world blew up as we began social distancing and everything stopped. I forgot about the book for a few weeks. Okay, we're going to start there tomorrow. All right. We can't even see across the street. The fog is so heavy, and I'm going to assume that, wow, that's crazy, Donna. Yeah, you're darn right. And I think it would be God that would have to be chasing me to make me run, because I ain't running for anybody else. That is one thing I have no desire to ever pick up. I could become a weightlifter. I could see myself like figuring out somehow to enjoy exercise. And if I was going to, I could see myself like weightlifting. But running, there has to be something pretty bad chasing me. Right, Bassie? It'd have to be more than you. Please pray for the Duck family. Her son committed suicide. Oh my gosh, Karen. I'm so sorry. Elizabeth, don't you be trying to talk me into running. I ain't doing it. Oh, all right, my friends, let's go ahead and end in prayer today. God, our Father, we thank you so much for this day and for all of the blessings that you give to us. We thank you for the joys you bring in our life, the difficulties that come our way. Thank you for all of it, because we know that you are by our side through all of it. God, I lift each woman here up to you today. I lift them up for healing. I know that this book resonates with so many of us, that so many of us struggle with our body image. But I just pray that through this reading, you will help us all to recognize that our bodies are for celebration and for worship of you, not for our own praise, not for anything besides worshiping you, and that we should treat our bodies as temples for you. Take care of our bodies, treat them right, so that everything that we do with our bodies is honoring to you. God, I pray for this family that lost their son to suicide. I can't fathom the pain they are going through and the heartbreak they're all feeling today. God, I just pray for your peace, the only peace that can calm, peace that passes understanding. God, I just pray that for these families that are going through this today. God, we continue to pray for Elizabeth's son and for his healing, that he will begin to feel better, and just bring him to complete healing today. God, I pray as we go through our day, you'll help us to make choices that honor you. Help us to be wise with our decision making, whether it's food or money or time, whatever we choose to do. I pray that it will be honoring to you. In your precious name I pray. Amen. All right, sweet friends. Bonnie, that's legit, right? Just if you see me running, you better start running too, or get out your gun, because it ain't good. Something's coming after me. Right, Maren? We're not a family of runners, really, are we? She went, I don't see that we'll ever be the running type. All right, I'm barely the walking type. All right, my friends, I love you so much. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'll see you back tomorrow, bright and early, for devotions. If you are not signed up for the free challenge beginning tomorrow over in Joyful Life with KJ, the community, on Facebook. Make sure you go to my website, click on free events and offers, and it's the very first thing. It's called the Super Simple Challenge. We're going to get super simple this week. So come be simple with me. I love you guys.